Hey, everybody. It is Dave from Gravity Wiz. We are exploring a new platform for streaming these. It's called StreamYard. So, this will be a bit of an experimental workshop. And that's another reason why we wanted to dedicate it kind of exclusively to questions and answers. We have some prepped. And so, we're just going to go ahead and jump right into them. So, one of the first questions that we had was, or a series of questions that we had was about, what are our plans for the future? And the big thing that we're going to be doing for Q4, just kind of scoping it down to the next quarter, is just kind of continuing to improve the products while also maintaining a steady momentum on all of our existing products, everything in the suite as it currently uh, exists, and just making it better and better, which is I think one of the things that we've really made a point to do throughout the lifetime of Gravity Perks is not letting anything stagnate for too long, just continuing to iterate on it. A few examples of this. Let me pull up a little note that I have. So, one of the big things that we're going to be doing is some additional improvements to Google Sheets. If you've been using Google Sheets with us for any length of time, one of the things that we've been really trying to nail down is the authentication flow. As we learned from years of using Zapier, the authentication with Google is tough. And we originally tried to keep it as simple as possible. But in that kind of endeavor, we realized that it was too simple and it just wasn't working effectively. And so then with beta 2, we introduced, some additional complexity, some additional insights, and then 1.0 kind of built on that foundation. So with 1.1, we're just kind of finishing that trajectory. I think it will be the final form of authentication in this plugin, but we're really excited about it. I can't share too much right now, but if you're following the weeklies, then you will hear more about that very soon. Next up, we are pushing hard on our Gravity Shop product configurator, trying to get that to 1.0. The big highlight feature for that is cart item editing. So when you've added an item to the cart, you can click on that item in the cart and it will reload it back into the product page and the Gravity form that's configured for that product. And you'll be able to edit it. And then those edits will be applied to the cart item when you submit the form again. Next up is Populate Anything. It's finally time to deprecate the 1.x branch. As many of you know, we released Populate Anything 2.0, I think at the beginning of last quarter, or maybe the end of the quarter before. And it was a pretty substantial refactor of that plugin, some major performance benefits, and also just made the code base so much easier for us to work with so that we can kind of continue iterating on it and making it better and better. So now we delivered it in such a way that users who were using the I think it was 2.x branch could continue using that. And we provided updates for it and fixes. But now it's time for that to be deprecated. It's going to happen later this quarter. And then everyone should be on 2.0 at that point. There's a good question about that I'll jump into right now. Let me see if I can get that on the screen here. So Jason actually pre-submitted a question and said, hey, how do we safely upgrade from Populate Anything 1.x to 2.x? Is there a guide available for the process? The process is really easy. All you do is just go to your account page and download 2.0. And once you've installed it, it should just work. The only caveat to that, I will say, is snippets. If you're using any Populate Anything snippets, go to the snippet library, look at the snippets that you have installed, and see if there's an updated version of that snippet in the snippet library. We did make a variety of fixes to snippets to ensure that they were backwards compatible, that we couldn't handle in Populate Anything itself. With that said, if you prefer just to wait until we officially deprecate 1.x, then the 2.0 update will just appear in your admin via auto updates. And so then in that case, you don't have to do anything special to upgrade. You can just update it and make sure you're happy with everything and you're good to go. Thanks for the question there, Jason. Going back to the Q4 roadmap, the other big thing that we're really excited about is conditional pricing 2.0. We have hopes of squeezing a few more items into this one, but the highlight feature, the one that we are committing to, is the ability to import and export pricing rules. This has just been requested so much over the years, and it's just been one that we haven't really understood the best way to solve, but we don't want to let that prevent us from making any progress. So we're going to release an MVP of this feature. Again, if you have existing pricing rules, it will let you export them. And if you want to import those same pricing rules back into another form or back edit them in that CSV in Google Sheets or just a desktop editor, then you can make edits as you want and then re-import them and overwrite those rules in the UI. That's a great way if you have hundreds of rules and you need just a faster way to edit them, then spreadsheets can be a really solid way to do that. And then lastly, again, as you know, we're all about what we call nimble wins here at Gravity Wiz. We love to just look for opportunities and support to add features that are small enough that we can provide them via support. And if you follow our weeklies, you'll see that we do this very consistently, constantly adding small features to the suite for existing products. So that's it for products for Q4. For projects for Q4, we just have two. Both of them are really big. Obviously, Black Friday is coming. That's always like a huge project. It takes a lot of our marketing resources to do that. So we just consider that like our full quarter marketing project. But then the other thing that is particularly exciting, and I wish I could show you guys a sneak peek. And if this was not going to be published later, I would totally show you a sneak peek. So feel free to email me and I will share it with you. But we're working on a new website. And it's been in progress for months and months and months. We hired an awesome company called VIII, an agency, to help us develop it and design it. And they did an amazing job, which is why I'm so eager to show you. And so I really do hope that you will send us an email, because I'd love to just show you like a little screenshot, just of even just the homepage, just so you can kind of see the direction of design that we are bringing to the new website. For so long, Gravity Wiz has been focused on providing value to customers in our products. I think it's time that we also, explore making ourselves look a little bit more professional, matching the quality of our code with our actual design and aesthetic. So that's it for Q4. I'm going to go ahead and jump into some questions here. So William had pre-submitted this question. He said, is it possible to send notifications to many people at the same time? So Gravity Forms has a number of solutions for this. I'm going to actually switch my monitor and then share my screen. And let's jump into my local machine. And the plugin that I would recommend for this is Email Users. I wonder if I have a good form set up for this. It doesn't look like I do, but let's just add one really quick. And just a heads up, this bar up here, it's our free admin bar plugin. We find that it just makes using Gravity Forms a lot easier. You can also see that it has an option for plugins as well. This is just super useful for us. I mean, the context that we work is obviously we do a lot of support and a lot of development. So it may not be broadly useful, but if you're working with Gravity Forms a lot, I would be willing to bet that this forms menu would be super useful to you. You have quick options for adding a new form, importing a form, which will take you to the import page. Or if you're on a specific form, you can export that form again, and you can just do this all with a few clicks. Shift FF activates it. So for example, if I want to export this, I would just click that, and then you can see, boom, it's already exported it right there. It all happens kind of behind the scenes, and it's amazing. But we are focused on email users right now. So let's add an email field to this form and maybe just a name field. And we'll save this and we'll preview the form. And I will say, I'll just enter, we'll just do 2. So you guys don't have to watch me enter a bunch of fake users. All right. Two of my favorite fake users. And now we're going to go to the email users page. And we're going to select that form I just created, which I already forget the form number, 427. So form 427. And now you see it automatically mapped to the email field. So we'll say, hey, this notification is going to be sent to each, it's going to send to this email field, whatever value is in the email field for each entry. And then you can set the email from, we can say Gravity Whiz. Oh, actually, excuse me, that needs to actually be an email. And we'll skip that one and just say exactly. And then for the message, just for the sake of this, we'll just put the all fields merge tag in there so you can see it. There's a couple other options. Conditional logic is really cool because you can, for example, if you have a form where you are registering for multiple events using the same form, you could select the event and then send out a notification just to the people that submitted that event, such as like, oh, well, this event got canceled. So you don't have to send it out to all the users. You can send it out to just the users who signed up for that event. In this case, though, I'm just going to show you this quick demo. And we're going to go move to the next page, and you'll see that it will tell you just who is going to receive this, and it will list out all of the emails. And then the cool thing here is that you can, first of all, you can get to the entry if you just want to confirm any details about that, make sure it is supposed to go to that user. And then the other thing you can do here is you can actually preview the email, and it will show you the headers that are going to be sent, as well as the contents of the email. And again, if you remember, we're using the all fields merge tag, so it just outputs all the fields from the form in that format. And then we'll send the emails. And it's obviously we're on local, so it's super fast, but it's pretty quick even on a production server as well. And that is the best way to send notifications to many people at the same time. Moving on. Where can the biggest and most creative Gravity Forms cracks be found? They must hide somewhere between the regular website devs and the support team of Gravity Whiz. I actually had a fun conversation with Ron about this question in support. So the best place, the absolute best place, is going to be our recommended developers page. And you can see here we have a list of developers. Most of these people we have worked with in some capacity. And so we can vet that they are solid. They know their stuff. I will say there's a different level of expertise for each of these. So if you have specific project requirements and you want to know who we would personally recommend for a project, we're absolutely happy to make a more personalized recommendation as well. But yeah, this is definitely the go-to resource. And we have plans to put more people on here. I'll also say that if you know someone that you feel like belongs on this page, maybe a developer that you've worked with, or maybe yourself, let us know. We'd love to talk. And we want to make this a super useful page with just lots and lots of options for people. All right, next up. Oh, that's the one we already covered about upgrading to GPPA 2.0. Helen asked an interesting question. Is there a way to control how much space appears between fields on a form? So this is another case where we're going to go and create a new form. By the way, did you see how fast that was? Like, again, Shift F, and then down one, and you create a new form. It's so awesome. I love it. Again, I'm sure that I create more new forms than the average Gravity Forms user, but still, definitely some optimizations for anyone using Gravity Forms here. All right, so we are trying to figure out a way to add more space between fields. So I believe Helen's use case was with checkboxes. She was using different checkboxes, and each checkbox field had one option, something like this. And so we'll duplicate that a couple times. And as you can see, it is a little cramped, especially, depending on like how your form layout is. And Gravity Forms doesn't actually provide a way to add or remove padding in the editor. I guess you technically could. Now that I think about it, I wonder what happens if you do this. Let's explore together. Okay, nothing. It does account for that. Oh, I wonder if it's the HTML field, or maybe they fixed that too. There was a minute there where the HTML field would add space. Okay, there you go. That's one way, right? Just literally adding an HTML field. A little hacky, but it works, right? The other thing you could do here is, rather than adding an HTML field between the fields, you could add an HTML field at the bottom, and then you can target the fields with CSS. Something like this, and then G field is going to target the container for each of those fields, and then you could do something like margin bottom, let's say 2rem. Save the form, refresh. Didn't work. Let's explore. So we see our field set there. Oh, okay. So you can see here, this is our class, the G field class right here. And you can see that that margin bottom is being overwritten. That's just because this margin here has greater specificity. So that's easy to solve though. We'll just copy that and add it before that, put a space there, because this field, these classes are set on the form container. And we'll save that. And it's still not working. Trickery. Let's see if it took the change, or maybe I've misunderstood. Let me see. No, that's there. All right, let me go back and look. I might have made a typo. Tell you what, let's just do gravity form wrapper. Ah, no, that wasn't it. Let's see what happens there. Still nothing, y'all. I'm actually a little surprised. Maybe someone sees my mistake.
I'll hop in, David. The field set is the container on the field, so you didn't need the space.
But is the... Oh, thank you. I see it. I appreciate the feedback there. There we go. All right. So now we save. And there we go. Perfect.
It is also adding that margin to that new HTML field, so you could potentially... I wonder if you can like make that a hidden field.
You could maybe... I think it's just taking up space because... What's taking up the space? Oh, it's the grid column on it, I think. Let's see what happens. I think that maybe you have the right idea about making it display none. It seemed to make some difference. Still a little bit there, but again, it's not perfect, but it is the only way that I'm familiar with adding space between fields. If anyone else has some suggestions, feel free to throw it in the comments. We'd love to explore that.
Yeah, that's something you could also write some classes for your fields and put that in your themes CSS file, and then you could apply those classes to the fields whenever you want to increase the spacing, which, yeah, I wonder if there's a ready class for it.
Yeah, I had the same thought. It feels like there might be something here. Padding, margin. No, it doesn't look like it. Although this is specific to, let's do one more little look here. List of CSS ready classes. All right, let's see. Padding, margin. No. Yeah, it does. I thought maybe there was a CSS ready class or gravity forms ready class for this, but it doesn't look like there is. So yeah, you could, again, what Clay was just saying there, you could come up with your own class, include it in your own CSS file, and then you could just apply it to the field. So for example, you go to the field here and you'd go to appearance, and then under here you could say, you know, my custom margin, and then that class would add whatever margin that you wanted on those fields. All right, let's jump back over here and see what question we have next. Rochelle, I don't know if Rochelle is here, but I met you for the first time at WordCamp US, and it was awesome to finally meet you in person. Rochelle has been in the gravity form space for quite a while. I don't know, Rochelle, should you be on the recommended developers page? Let me know in the comments. So Rochelle asked, will the Google Sheet add-on ever let users update an existing entry based on Google Sheet updates? So let me give you some background on this first. So let's activate Google Sheets. And we are going to, well, let's just use this one. So we'll go to Google Sheets here. Oh, looks like I haven't authenticated with this one. Oh, wow. This is an old version of Google Sheets. Give me a second, y'all. I'm going to go to my iTerm, and I'm going to update my Google Sheets. Oh,
Did you run yarn as well?
I did. It's okay though. We can have another local site set up for that, so I can just go there. So with local, let's go to my, oh, it's already awesome. Epic. And just in case having a bunch of screens open is distracting for people, let me minimize some of those. All right, give that the focus here. All right, so we're going to go to create a new form, and we'll add just a couple fields here, and we'll save the form, and then we're going to go to Google Sheets. We're going to add a new sheet here, and in this case, we'll go ahead and create a new sheet, and I'll say entry ID, map that to the entry ID, and we'll just do drop down. What was the drop down? C. And we'll just do one field here. And we'll save that real quick. Actually, I wanted to check one more option. So Google Sheets will allow you to update the row when the entry is updated. And I'm going to show you that here in a second. But just so you can kind of follow along, Rochelle is asking, would it ever be possible that the entry is updated when the sheet is updated? And I will answer that after we demo this first bit of functionality. So we'll just do some values here. We'll just leave first choice selected. We'll submit the form. We're going to go back to this. We're going to go to our sheet that we just created, and you'll see that it has the entry ID and it has the first choice is selected. Okay. So now we're going to go into the entries, and we're going to go to the entry that we just submitted, and we're going to edit it, and we're going to select second choice, and we're going to update that. And then when we go back to our the sheet, you'll see that it says it has been updated to second choice. So again, it works from Gravity Forms to Google Sheets. Will it ever work from Google Sheets to Gravity Forms? Probably not. At least at this point, we don't have any definite plans for that. It's very tricky. There's a lot of additional implications that have to be accounted for in that. And at this point in time, we have just not seen a ton of demand for it. Most people are trying to get their Gravity Forms entry out of Google, or excuse me, out of Gravity Forms and into Google Sheets versus vice versa. The one context that we do see this happening in where they do want data in, it's not in as Gravity Forms entries, but rather as field values or as field choices, which I'm going to demonstrate for you really quick. Just submit another one. I actually don't know why I added these other two fields here, but we'll just add the first choice and the second choice. We're going to look at that again. You'll see this. Oh, that's so funny because I just updated that to second choice. So let's go back and we're going to update this one to first choice again. So we have two distinct options. And now I'm going to show you something really cool because we're going to go back to the same form. I'm going to delete these fields that we aren't actually using. And I'm going to add another drop-down field. Actually, you know what? Let's do a radio button just to make it a little bit more distinct. And I already have populate anything activated. So we're going to go populate choices. And we're going to select the Google Sheet object. And of course, it's going to sass me. Oh, it came back. And what was that, 77? We're going to select Google Sheet 77. And we're not going to filter the results at all. We're just going to populate them directly in here. And you can see here, this is the column, drop down C. We're going to populate the value as the entry ID and the value, or excuse me, the label as the drop down C column. And so now if we look at our results, this is what's going to be populated into the field. And if we go ahead and save the form and preview it, you can see that we have captured those values directly from here into this field on this form. So for example, if we submit third choice here, First of all, we can see that third choice has been added to the sheet. And because it's been added to the sheet and we are populating choices from the sheet,
there's a,
oh, there's a
because we're
cache.
pulling, yeah, because we're pulling from Google Sheets, it's cached. I want to say for 30 seconds or 60 seconds, but it's not a very long time. But we need to do that in order to not run into quotas with Google and to also improve performance, because the Google spreadsheets endpoints can vary in terms of speed. And if you have a complex setup with chained fields, then that's just more requests to Google. Hence why we do that caching. But it will show up.
Yep. Eventually, let's see. Let's do a quick test. There it is. It arrived. So yeah, probably about 30 seconds to a minute. Enough for us to explain the feature. That's perfect. I see Rob Davis has a question here. Let me select that. Is it possible to map an existing Google Sheet with data to a Gravity form and have entry updates in GF trigger updates in the sheet, provided that the entry ID is specified? So this would not work as is because, and sorry, I'm thinking this through, Rob, because it actually aligns with a feature that we actually want to add, which is a better way to identify rows in a sheet. But right now, each row has essentially metadata that you can't see, but it is there. And that is actually how the row is identified. With that said, we've seen a lot of requests for people who actually want to identify specific rows for updating based on values in the columns. So that is I'm not going to say a planned feature, but it is something that we're interested in. And the only reason I say it's not planned is because we don't have it like officially on the roadmap. So anything that's not on the roadmap is just considered just a feature request. So yes, Rob, feel free to submit that to us in support so we can add your vote for that if that's something that would be useful to you. Definitely want to keep track of that. All right. Let me actually go back here because I see an interesting question from Mayaro. It's not a question exactly, but it would be fantastic if a form submission could be saved as a template that can be reused later at a later date when the submitter doesn't have to re-enter much of the same information again. Yes, this is another thing that we've seen a lot. This comes up a lot with our save and continue perk. Let me jump back to my local install and activate advanced save and continue. Oh, Google Sheets, of course. So let's go to.
I was just going to say that was from switching branches.
Yeah.
You could maybe fix it with a composer install.
I'm just going to delete it real quick. Plus, I feel like such elite hacksaw using using terminal on a call, no less. All right, perfect. So we're out of there. I've just activated advanced save and continue. We're going to make a new form again, because I love showing off how fast you can create new forms. And let's just add a couple fields here. Let's just maybe do a name and an email. Maybe this is not the best example for a template, but whatever. This is what we're doing. So we'll save this. We're going to go to settings. We're going to go to save and continue. And we're going to go to enable save and continue. And we're going to go down to enable draft management. And we're going to save settings. And sorry, Mayaro, follow along because I'm getting to your point. So if we preview this, and I'm going to enter in Dave Smith, and I'm not going to enter an email. I'm just going to go save and continue later. Awesome. I'm going to refresh this. And now you can see that there's this draft up here. And if I click this draft, it will reload that data that I submitted into the form. So now we can update this draft, right? Let's add a little bit more. And let's save and continue later. And I'm going to go back and press that form again. And now I'm going to click this again, this draft, because I want to start this draft again. And you'll see it loaded all that data. So this is the foundation of a templating system for entry data. And we do have plans to add support for this to save and continue. Again, I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but Mayara, we definitely get this request a decent bit. And we're super excited to explore this more. If there's enough demand, we could even explore this as like a snippet solution where we can just kind of flag a specific template or a specific draft as a a draft that should never be completed, and therefore it can act as a template. So not, again, we're close. Oh, I gotta look at this camera. We're close. So yeah, definitely awesome suggestion. And as I told Rob, submit this via support so we can make sure it gets logged. We absolutely take our feature requests very seriously, and we log pretty much everything. All right, I think we have, we're at the time, but I do have one more question from Rob. Rob says, what changes would you like to see in the GF ecosystem over the next 1 to 5 years? And what are some of the things that you have planned down the road as part of those changes? Dang, great question, Rob. It's a big question. I feel like I'm being interviewed now. I'm going to go work for Rob. So the short answer is we're kind of open to whatever is going to happen. We're in a really great spot right now. We have a really great system and we're really happy with it. So as far as like big dreams, really just releasing more products is our big thing, continuing to add value to the suite, looking for ways to optimize support so we can, again, continue providing what we consider to be legendary level support. As far as like things that we would like to see kind of change in the ecosystem, I'd love to just be more tightly integrated with Gravity Forms, allowing people to discover Gravity Wiz directly in the Gravity Forms interface. There's so many features that we add and so many things. I think that it could just be very compelling for a first-time user experience to not have to go out and look for something, but find it where they need it in the context that they'll need it. So for example, having like a nested form field icon available in the editor. And then when they click on it, it could just tell them a little bit about what it is, what it does, because they might already have this idea of like, oh, I want to nest a form inside this other form. And then they see that icon there, then they can kind of lead them the rest of the way to the solution that they're actually after. Beyond that, I don't know, Rob, you're here, man. Ask me a more specific question. I think it's on a 10-second delay, so I'll wait a second, but what else would you like to know related to that?
In the meantime, I was going to mention some technical things that are exciting. Gravity Forms is investing a lot into React. That's a JavaScript framework that WordPress has moved toward with the block editor. So being able to write code and components that work for the block editor and for Gravity Forms and having the same developer tooling for both of those is really exciting. We've developed a lot of things in-house for things like adding field settings. But if that was all moved toward React and components, then we'd have more reusable code that is highly reactive and looks nice. Actually, in GP Google Sheets 1.1, we realized it's time to make the UI for that React, and it was a breath of fresh air bringing that in there.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think that we're going to be able to afford to buy Rocket Genius. But I will say Rocket Genius has always taken really good care of us and has always like really embraced the third-party ecosystem. So we're definitely super grateful to them for just, I don't know, they're just like a really good company in that sense. They aren't threatened by the ecosystem. They see it as a opportunity to provide more value. So we value that as well. All right. I think we're going to call it. Thank you everyone so much for coming. If you want more sessions like this, kind of just this casual hangout, explore stuff, let us know. We are eager to do whatever you want us to do. We are your wizards. So tell us what spells you want us to cast. All right. Until next time, everybody. Thank you so much. Bye.